Warm greetings to everyone watching the sentiments of old age. I didn't come back to blame you. I just don't want those old days to repeat again. Thang lowered his head, while Heen tightly held her husband's hand. Please, just tell us. We promise we will change. No, I don't need any more apologies. If you want me to stay, you must agree to 3 things. Otherwise, I will return to the countryside. No anger, no resentment, just not wanting to be treated like a stranger, or considered a source of bad luck for the family. Thang hurriedly said, please, just tell us. Whatever it is, I will obey. She nodded. First, I am not here to babysit, cook, wash dishes, or clean the house. I am not a maid. As long as I am still healthy, I will gladly help, but that must be voluntary, not an obligation. Heen's eyes welled up with tears. Suddenly, in her mind echoed those careless words from years ago. I work all day, you only have to cook, and yet you still complain. Now those words felt like a dagger piercing her heart. She lowered her head and whispered through sobs, please forgive me, mother. Whether you help or not, just having you here already makes me feel warm inside. She continued. Second, each month I want to go back to my hometown for at least 3 days. I need to burn incense for your father, tend to the banana trees, and sit by the village well with a pot of familiar tea. You mustn't stop me, nor question why I return so often. That is where I truly feel alive. Thang nodded immediately. I'll take you back whenever you wish. Even if it's a morning trip and back by evening, I will wait. She smiled faintly, tired yet gentle. Lastly, if one day I pass away, I don't want to trouble you. I already have a resting place beside your father. No need for a big grave, no need for a fancy altar photo. I only wish for a sincere stick of incense and the words, Mother, we miss you. Hearing this, Heen burst into tears, kneeling and clutching her mother-in-law's hand. Mother, if only I had understood sooner, I wouldn't have driven you away just because of a fortune-teller's words. The old woman softly stroked her daughter-in-law's hair. Her hand was cold, but her eyes warm. You are not a bad person, just misunderstood. A mother in the house is not a burden, but the warmth that keeps the home from turning cold in the silence of sighs. That evening, the 3 of them shared a simple meal, mustard green soup, fried tofu, and a bit of braised pork left over from the holiday feast. Not luxurious, but the first truly heartfelt reunion dinner in years. Little Nam ran in, holding up a messy drawing. Grandma, I drew you. Grandma Bitch beamed with joy. Though clumsy, the childish words, I love Grandma, made her hug her grandchild tightly, looking at her son and daughter-in-law with warmth in her heart. For her, that was already the best New Year's gift. No need for lavish feasts, nor stacks of paper offerings. Just a chair with a seat reserved for Mother, and the word, Mother, spoken with true affection. After the reunion meal, the atmosphere in Thang and Heen's home became lighter. Heen began actively asking her mother-in-law's opinion about shopping, tidying, and childcare. Thang often took her for walks in the park, sometimes sitting together brewing tea and rewatching the Dao Quan comedy show. The house was still old, but now it was warm. Grandma Bitch lived more quietly, speaking little, but her face was no longer heavy with sorrow. Yet every morning, she would sit on the balcony, opening a small notebook and writing silently. That was the will she was drafting by her own hand. One day, while cleaning the room, Heen noticed the small steel cabinet left slightly open. Inside was an old brown cloth bag, the one her mother-in-law used to carry to the market back in the village. Curious, she found a faded bankbook. Opening it, she froze. The balance was over 380 million dong. For her mother-in-law, who had lived frugally all her life, that was no small sum. Still stunned, Heen was caught when the old woman walked in. Their eyes met, and the room fell silent. Heen stammered, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. The old woman quietly clutched the book to her chest and softly said, This account I opened the day my son got married. Each month I saved a little, sometimes 500, sometimes only 200. Even the lucky money given to my grandchild, I would ask for a few new bills to keep. Bit by bit, it added up to this. Mother, what are you saving that money for? Heen asked, her voice trembling. Grandma Bitch hugged the passbook tightly to her chest and softly replied, I saved it in case I fall ill in old age, so I won't have to trouble my children and grandchildren. And if I don't get the chance to leave instructions, I want this money to go to Nam, as a little gift from his grandmother. Tears welled in Heen's eyes. Mother, you love your grandchild so much. She nodded gently. Yes, but I also worry. I was afraid if I told you too soon, you'd think I was hiding something, calculating. Especially after I was once driven out of this house on New Year's Eve. That feeling. Once you've lived through it, it's hard to trust anyone again. Her words cut into Heen's heart like a blade. She knelt down, clutching her mother-in-law's hand. Mother, it was my fault. I promise, I won't let you feel fear ever again. The old woman only quietly stroked her daughter-in-law's hair, then turned toward the balcony. The wooden chair outside had already dried after days of rain, but inside her heart, there was still a damp emptiness that could not be warmed. On the night of the 4th day of Tet, Thang went to bed early to prepare for work the next day. Nam had already fallen asleep after listening to his mother's bedtime stories. Heen sat alone at the dining table. When she stood to pour water, she noticed her mother's room was dark. Mother, are you asleep? She called softly. No answer. She opened the door. The bed was empty, the blanket folded neatly, the wardrobe slightly open, and the familiar brown cloth bag was gone. Panic rising, she rushed to the balcony, shouting, Mother! Where are you? Still no reply. She ran into her husband's room. Anne, wake up. Mother's gone again. Thang jolted awake. Together they searched everywhere with a flashlight. The front door was still locked, but the back door was ajar. On the ground outside were fresh tire marks. Perhaps a taxi or motorbike had just left. On the living room table lay a small note. I want some quiet for a few days. Don't look for me. When my heart feels lighter, I will return. Reading it, Heen trembled and broke down in tears. Mother still hasn't found peace. She still hasn't truly forgiven us. Thang put his arm around his wife, his eyes distant. We once drove her away. Regret is not enough. She doesn't hate us, but she still doesn't trust us. She left because she still feels like a stranger in her own home. That night, neither of them slept. The phone lay silent. No calls, no messages. She had vanished into the night, as quietly as that New Year's Eve long ago. But this time, the fear cut deeper, because both knew. When an old mother chooses to leave in silence, her heart is surely still bleeding. On the morning of the 5th day of Tet, Hanoi was bitterly cold, the drizzle just ending. While the streets outside were still dim, Thang and Heen's house had been lit since 5 a.m. No one ate, no one slept, only a heavy weight of worry remained. The wooden chair where she often sat was icy cold. Her coat still hung there, but its owner was gone. Thang rode his motorbike out, searching from bus stations to small alleys, from the old temple she used to visit to Long Bien Market, asking everyone he could. No one knew. At home, Heen called everywhere. Aunt Nok, Uncle La, her younger sister in Bac Ninh, even her mother-in-law's old neighborhood friends, none had seen her. Near noon, Thang returned, exhausted. Maybe she went back to the village? Heen choked. Thang suddenly remembered. No, the house in the village is still locked. But remember, Mother often spoke about her childhood home, grandparents' house in Thuong village, on the outskirts of Hanoi, near Ton Oi. It's been abandoned for years, but she once said it held her dearest memories. The couple exchanged a glance. Without another word, they sped off. The road into Thuong village was narrow, cutting across a field of young rice just planted, gleaming green under the early spring sun. In the distance, red tiled roofs blended into the smoke rising from wood-burning stoves. They stopped at a small cobblestone lane. A dilapidated 4-room house lay deep in a banana grove, roof mottled, walls cracked. But the gate was freshly tied with cloth, a sign someone had been there. Pushing the gate open, they saw a frail figure crouched, picking water spinach. In front, a pot of water steamed, and beside it, a yellow cat curled up. Mother, Heen cried out. Grandma bitch startled, turning back, her hands trembling, eyes wide. The three of them stood still, no tears, no words, only a long silence, as if even time had stopped. Heen stepped forward, knelt, and embraced her. Mother, please come home with us. Not push her away, nor did she return the hug. She only asked quietly, who brought you here? Thang's voice choked. I remembered, there was no one. I thought if we couldn't find Mother by searching, we should try the places she loved and spoke about. And we remembered she often mentioned this house. Grandma bitch sighed. She had come here to slow down for a few days. Here nobody told her she was bad luck, nobody treated her like a burden. Here she was just an ordinary woman. A simple meal with a little salt tasted fine. Heen covered her face, choking on her words. I was wrong, Mother. I never asked what you liked, never understood what you kept inside. I lived only by the ideals I thought were right. Thang knelt beside his wife, a tear falling. I'm to blame too. As a son I let mother leave the house 3 times like a stranger. I don't deserve to be your son. Grandma Bitch watched the two of them bowing their heads, and her eyes brimmed with tears. She smoothed Thang's hair, patted Heen's head, then softened her voice. Enough. I haven't gone far. I only wanted to know if you really missed me. Of course we do, Mother, they answered in unison. She smiled. I no longer complain, but if I come back, don't let me leave a 4th time. Old people don't have many chances to forgive. Heen held her and wept like a child. That afternoon the 3 of them cleaned the old house together. Heen washed the dishes, Thang swept the yard. Grandma Bitch picked vegetables and washed the teapot to brew tea. The family sat on the porch, sunlight spilling over the mustard greens. The yellow cat rubbed against her legs and mewed softly. Mother, shall we go back to Hanoi tomorrow? Tell me what you like to eat and I'll cook it. Tell me what flowers you like and I'll plant them, Heen asked. Bitch grinned with a toothy smile. I don't ask for much, just a chair with a place for me, and someone who truly invites me to eat. On the 6th day of Tet, the sky brightened after gloomy days, and the kumquat pots on the porch still hung heavy with fruit as if they had just come through a long holiday. Thang and Heen brought Grandma Bitch from Thuong village back to Hanoi after finding her in the abandoned childhood home. This return was no longer silent. Everyone in the house felt a little more grown inside. In the 3-story house with all modern comforts, Bitch was given her rightful place, not a quiet hidden corner, but in the center of everyone's heart. Late in the afternoon, sunlight slanted through the window as she sat on the old sofa, knitting, looking out at the small yard. Nam, her grandson, ran over, curious. Grandma, what are you knitting? I'm knitting you a sweater. But I already have a sweater. She smiled. The sweaters your parents buy are different. The ones I knit have extra love. Nam sat on the floor, resting his head on her lap. After a while he asked in a small voice, Grandma, will you die? She flinched. Her knitting needle paused. Who told you that? The other day I heard my parents say, she's gone already. I didn't understand but I was scared. She bent down to stroke his hair, her voice warm and steady. Everyone dies someday, but not now. I still have to teach you to write nicely, still have to finish all the fairy tales. I'm not going anywhere yet. Nam looked at her, eyes glistening. Grandma, please don't die. I'll be good. I want you to stay with me forever. Grandma Bitch hugged him. The smell of baby hair, milk, and sunlight softened her heart. That night at dinner, Nam suddenly said, tomorrow I won't go to the park. I want to stay home and play with Grandma. Thang laughed. Staying home just means lots of snacks. Nam shook his head. No, I want to hear Grandma tell the story of Thatch Sun and the one about when she searched for me in the forest. Heen ladled soup for her mother and whispered, Mother, today Nam called you an old superhero. She smiled. An old superhero? The other day he told me not to die. The sentence stilled the whole table. Thang set down his chopsticks and looked at his mother. Does it make you sad to hear that? She answered lightly. No. I'm old. I'm used to talk of life and death. But when a child holds your hand and begs, don't go, it softens your heart. Heen pressed her lips together and suddenly understood. No matter how many apologies she had offered, only when you truly need one another do you feel love. Before, I treated you like an outsider in our house, she whispered. Now I know, if you're not here, no one can keep the home warm. Perhaps because Mother had left so many times, they finally realized how painful the thought of losing her was. Thang gently said, I don't want to live in fear anymore. I want to love you while you're still sitting in front of me. Bitch was quiet, bent to pick up each grain of rice fallen on the tablecloth. Her hands shook and her eyes were red. Late at night, when everyone else slept, she went into Nam's room, sat by his bed, and placed a hand on his forehead. The boy slept on, still clutching the half-finished scarf she was knitting. She whispered, I will try to live longer, Nam. I will tell all the fairy tales, teach you to write, so every Tet I'll sit and eat bon chung with you. Then she closed her eyes, as if offering a private, silent prayer. The next morning she woke up very early. For the first time in years, she sat at the table, flipped through the new lunar calendar, and wrote a few lines in her notebook. On the 7th day of Tet the whole family gathered around the meal. The daughter-in-law carefully ladled soup for her mother-in-law. The son asked what she liked to eat, and the little grandson innocently declared, "Grandma is my superhero." In that moment she realized she still had a place in the family, in her descendants' hearts. After Tet, Nam's kindergarten announced a parents' meeting to introduce the year's plan, the new teachers, and a small performance. Heen got the message and planned to go. Just then, after she had finished frying a batch of banana fritters for Nam, Grandma Bitch looked up and asked, "A parents' meeting, dear?" "Yes, this Friday afternoon, Mom. How about I come with you?" Heen hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "Yes, Mom. That would be nice. Come with me." Bitch smiled, joy lighting her eyes. For the first time she felt she could step into her grandson's world, not be pushed outside. On Friday afternoon the air was crisp. She put on a beige coat, wrapped a silk scarf around her neck, and carried a small bag of tangerines and a packet of cakes as gifts for the teacher. Heen walked beside her in a neat shirt. When they entered the classroom, Nam was singing and dancing with his friends. Upon seeing his grandmother he shouted, "Grandma, you really came." The young teacher smiled and welcomed them, inviting Heen and her mother to sit. The classroom filled. Parents dressed smartly chatted. The meeting opened with a video of the children during Tet. When Nam's segment played, he stood up straight and raised his hand. "I wish my teacher and friends a happy new year. I love my parents, and I love my grandmother most of all." The class laughed and some parents applauded, but there were murmurs. Someone in the front whispered, "Bringing grandparents to the meeting like this, he'll cling to grandma more than his parents." Grandma Bitch heard this and her heart pinched. The teacher smiled politely and said, "Children tend to attach to whoever cares for them most, but we hope parents attend evenly so the child's affections aren't unbalanced." Heen's brow tightened. Then she stood and, speaking calmly and firmly, said, "May I make a comment? My child loves his grandmother, the woman who prepared his meals, told his stories, stayed up nights when he was sick. What is wrong with that? Affection isn't defined only by the title, parent, sincerity matters more. I'm proud my son mentioned his grandmother first in class. That should be celebrated, not corrected." The room grew quiet. The teacher looked a little embarrassed but nodded. "Thank you, I'll be more careful with my wording." The parent who had whispered fell silent and bowed his head. Grandma Bitch looked up. Her eyes shone, not with embarrassment but with emotion. On the way home, Nam ran ahead, skipping. Bitch walked beside him, occasionally smoothing his hair. After they parked the bike, Heen hurried up and called softly, "Mom." Bitch turned around. Heen asked gently, "Did what happened in class make you sad?" She gently shook her head. "I'm not sad, I'm used to it. I just thought, if you heard such words, you would choose silence. I never expected you to stand by my side." Heen held her hand, her voice trembling with emotion. "In the past I was wrong, too afraid of gossip. But now I only fear you feeling hurt. I won't let anyone treat you as unnecessary again." A smile appeared on her lips, a rare smile filled with complete trust. That night, she knitted again, but not quietly on the balcony. This time she sat in the living room. Thang came to sit beside her. "Mom, I just heard from my wife about the meeting at school. Did it make you happy?" "Of course, because now I don't attend meetings like a shadow anymore." He hesitated. "If you like, from now on, every parent meeting, you can come with us." "Yes, as long as in the classroom, and in your hearts, there's still a place for me." She nodded, her hand still moving swiftly with the yarn. Outside, the rain grew heavy, wind whistling through the cracks, swaying the curtains. On the second floor, Nam slept soundly. But some instinct left Grandma Bitch restless. Near 2:30 a.m., she went to check on him and her heart tightened. Opening the door, the dim lamp revealed his flushed face. She touched his forehead, burning hot. Nam whimpered, lips dry, his body shivering. The thermometer read 38.8, then climbed to 39.2. Sponging him down didn't help. She hurried to wake Thang and Heen. "Nam has a very high fever," she cried out. Thang scooped up his son, Heen trembling as she searched for medicine. Bitch shook her head. "No time. His lips are dry, his hands and feet cold. We must get him to the hospital immediately." Within 10 minutes, the whole family was in a taxi. Heen clutched her son, her face pale. Grandma Bitch sat in the back, rubbing his hands, whispering, "Hold on, Grandma's here." By 3:30, the hospital opened its side gate for the car. Nam was rushed straight into emergency. Heen stood outside the glass doors, hands pressed tight, tears brimming. Thang tried to stay calm, handling paperwork. Grandma Bitch watched intently, with the eyes of someone who had spent many nights awake, holding feverish children. More than an hour later, the doctor came out. It's good you brought him in time. The boy had acute pharyngitis, a mild seizure, and was close to dehydration. He's now on fluids and fever reducers, stable for the moment. Heen burst into tears. Mom, thank goodness for you. Thang gripped her hand tightly. I can't imagine what might have happened if you hadn't noticed so soon. She only smiled, rubbing her daughter-in-law's back. With me here, you don't have to fear the night fevers. And with you too, I have nothing to regret in life. By morning, Nam slept peacefully, his lips no longer parched. Grandma Bitch sat by his bed, her fingers sliding over the old wooden prayer beads, a simple gift carrying her silent wishes for her grandchildren's peace. Thang brought in 2 cups of warm milk. Mom, drink something. You didn't sleep at all last night. I'm fine, but from now on, each evening you should check on him. Children don't always know how to say when they're unwell. Heen sat down, holding her mother-in-law's hand. From now on, I'll let you sleep with him at night. Not to make you watch over him, but so you can be his grandma. Her eyes glistened. That's the sentence I've been waiting for so long. Later, a young nurse came in to examine Nam and asked in surprise, are you the boy's grandmother? Last night you handled things so skillfully. Rarely do elders stay that calm. Heen smiled. Yes, she's my mother-in-law. Then you're very fortunate. Having a grandmother like this is better than any medicine, the nurse praised. Grandma Bitch only bowed her head with a smile, her thin hands clutching her grandson's. Just then, the first rays of sunlight streamed in, warm and tender, like her love for her family. After that night, her son and daughter-in-law cherished her even more. Every meal included her favorite dishes, and her seat was always at the center. Each day Heen whispered, Mom, rest. Let me do it. But like all mothers, Bitch couldn't sit still. She still rose early to make porridge, tidy the house, smooth her daughter-in-law's blouse before work. A week later, when Nam had fully recovered, the doctor advised a full checkup for Grandma, since she had spent a sleepless night in the cold rain. Thang nodded, ready to take her right away. But she only smiled and gently waved it off.